I wanted to ask, just add on to what I asked earlier, and also based on what John Gilmore said earlier. I'm just thinking again, we all in agreement that mindsets need to change. In your experience or in your opinion, where do you think we should start, with the students or with the teachers? Because what we find here also is that there's a disconnect between the math that is taught on school level and the math that is taught on university level, tertiary level. So if we were to implement this mind shift on how math is approached, what do you think where would we, I suppose, where would we have the most outcome if we start with teachers and trying to get them to teach math differently, or if we start with the students in getting them to think about math differently?
Well, definitely I like both, but I do think it's really important to get the information to teachers. When I first met Carol Dweck, who's like the mindset guru, she's at Stanford, my first question to her was, have you ever tried doing this mindset work with teachers? Because that will really amplify the messages for students. And she hadn't at that time. She'd only given mindset interventions to students. So it's so important that teachers, and I would say that teachers not only need to be giving those messages to kids, they need to believe it about themselves. And many teachers, sadly, have been given the idea themselves in their own education, their own childhood, that they weren't very good at maths. So they developed these fixed ideas about maths, and we have to change teachers' mindsets. We did a study a couple of years ago with 5th grade teachers in California, and they took my online class, they changed their teaching, their students, even in that same year, significantly increased their achievement. But if you read the write-up of the study, it all started with the teachers changing their beliefs about themselves. And they had to go through that process before they were open to changing their teaching. So yes, super important that we get these messages to teachers and that they have the time and opportunity to change their own mindsets.
I think my camera on. But my question is, it's kind of similar to the question Mariam just asked, and in terms of changing the mindset of students and teachers, and if we look at our current education system and the way it's structured, like, do you think that we would need to change our education system and completely revamp it? I was reading an article earlier, or like a while ago, about an education system where it's not grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. It's where students work at their own paces on the and that seems a lot more inviting to the idea of engaging with students' mindsets on certain topics.
Well, great question. I mean, I think in many ways we would improve education if we did just start over, because there's so much wrong. But I also think that a lot can be done, and we could get a lot of improvement with the system. Yeah, having kids work at their own pace instead of just being a group by age. My only concern about that is a lot of the programs that have developed to do that also have students working individually. So if we know that collaboration is important, we need to develop systems that are responsive to kids, what they need at that time, but are also allowing them to connect with other people and work together. And I don't think that's been worked out too well yet. I would like that to be better developed. So, but yeah, I think that's definitely right, that we could rethink the whole structure of schooling, and I think really interesting, could be really beneficial.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Summayah. There's a comment, or there's a question rather, in the comment section from Nancy, and she asked, is there the Emerging Scholars Program where students work together on maths in a workshop, in case anyone wants to read more about it or implement it at the university or school?
Yeah, great. I think it is that program. And Uri Treisman, I can just quickly check, it is that program, but I'm pretty sure you're right, that's the name of it. So yeah, I think that's great if other people, I mean, if you work at a university, what they did was they formed student groups where they would come and do the maths in the traditional lecture, but approach it in groups together and work through the problems together. So they managed to get the great results by forming another like class where people work together. And I've seen that work really well in schools too. I don't think tracking, ability grouping, setting, whatever it's called, is good. And I've worked in middle schools where instead of doing that, they had their regular class and then they had a class alongside it. And they invited anyone to come to that class. And in that class, they just kind of unpacked what they had been presented in the maths class and approached it again, but slower and more deeply. And that was hugely beneficial. It's a little bit like what they did in the Emerging Scholars program.
Thank you.